Hello everyone, welcome to Dreamertalk. I'm your host, the Dreaming Gamer. So how has everyone been? I know this is coming out later than normal. For the past five podcasts, I have been releasing them every Monday. And then a Monday came, and a Monday went, and then we're almost on to a next Monday. And originally, I had plans to release this podcast on Friday, and then release another one on Monday. But that didn't happen. Just I missed the first Monday deadline because just stuff was going on, and I missed the second one. The second one because again I had other stuff going on. But hopefully I can seem to have gotten that taken care of. There's still a few things I need to do. So what that means is I think this podcast is going to switch down to a bi-weekly. So it's going to go Monday, nothing, then Monday after that, then nothing. At least for a little bit until I get a kind of over this and I get a system, which if this prospect works out that I want, that I've been working on, then it's going to give me more time to actually do this podcast as well as work on my recording. I hope everyone's been good. I hope everyone's staying safe out there. But before I move on to the topic, let's talk about what I've been playing. And honestly, it's not any different than it was. I'm still playing Hyrule Warriors. I recently uninstalled Hearts of Iron 4 because, well, I've just become too obsessed with that. Um, I've recently upgraded my computer's hard drive, so it's now a solid state drive. It has problems. Right now, the computer is upside down because with the bottom off, so that I can take out the hard drive. Because sometimes when it loads, the hard drive doesn't read correctly, so it doesn't load. So I don't know if that's like maybe I'm not pushing it in all the way when I put it in, or what's going on. Um, so yeah, Nintendo recently released the Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity demo, and I've been playing that. It's it's weird. So I was on the fence about it. It looked really fun, but I was on the fence about it. And playing the demo, I'm still kind of on the fence about it. It's really Breath of the Wild with Hearts of Iron. It's Breath of the Wild with Hyrule Warriors added to it, which I mean, it's kind of the point. Um, I don't think, not to get too much into it, I don't think it's going to serve exactly as a prequel, exactly like we think it is, just with some of the things that happen in it. Um, I feel like there's some inconsistency, but given that Link has no memories of what he was doing of that 100 years ago, I mean, they basically can write in whatever they want. Plus, Nintendo is partnered more so in creating the story this time. Um, Also, interesting tidbit playing Hyrule Warriors. In the original, in Hyrule Warriors, Ganon has this like darkness inside of him that, when you really think about it, is kind of like a precursor to Calamity Ganon. And I think that's what Age of Calamity is going to do too. Is that they have a Ganondorf looking character who very well may be linking us into Breath of the Wild 2. Because again, I think Age of Calamity serves not just as a prequel, but also as a bridge between the two games. Um, I've also went back to Fallout 4, which is much of a gripe I have with that game, and how aspects of it I don't like. I still really like more certain aspects of it. Especially since I play it on the computer, I can mod it, so I can add stuff to it. So that's really good. Uh, but yeah, so that's what I've been playing recently here. But so let's dive into our topic. So I want to take you back to the early 2000s. So the PS2 had stormed onto the scene, and the 64 had faded into history, and the Dreamcast was on its way out. One of the biggest things that had happened in that year, besides stuff like in that era, besides stuff like 9/11, is that no one knew, the story about an ogre finding love and a cartoon about sea creatures would define a generation. And then, in between paying my debt off to a raccoon, traveling across the stars with a Lombax and his robot ally, and building my civilization one turn at a time, I had an early nostalgic trip back to the Super Nintendo. So, I got to the Super Nintendo at the same time as the 64, because my mom always bought presents throughout the year, and she had bought the Super, I want to say over the winter, after around the time of last Christmas, and then as we got closer to that Christmas, we then had the 64, and the 64 had come out or had been out, and she had a work friend who brought it over, and we played around with it, and so I got both of those on one Christmas. And I always loved the Super. I've always loved the Super Nintendo with its 16-bit graphics, incredible solid games. It's one of my favorite systems. And then while going through the games of the Super, I've discovered a lot of hidden gems, and one gem in particular stood out. Interesting that I also talked that I'm still playing Hyrule Warriors, because this game was actually made by Koei. It was originally released in 1994 on the NEC PC 98, the Super, the Genesis, and the PC. And it was a game that I had never seen before. It was a story of 6 characters set in an era of discovery with a sense of freedom I'd never experienced before. And when I think back to open worlds, this is the game that always comes right to my mind. It was an open world game before they existed. It was Uncharted Waters 2, New Horizons. So the Uncharted Waters series, which is known as, you're going to have to forgive me because I know I'm going to butcher this name, Daikokai Jidai in Japan, is a game about exploration. I played the first one a little on the NES and the Wii when they re-released it on the Super, but it was the second one that really stole my heart and the one that I'm going to be talking about. So when you start up a new game, you can choose, like I said, one of 6 characters. Each character has their own stats, their goals, their friends, their adventure, their story, purpose, all that. And they even cross over with one another, a concept that I'd never seen before. Usually most stories were all kind of like separate, or all your characters kind of hung out together. So you have, and now again, I'll probably horribly mispronounce these names. You have João Franco. So he is an explorer from Portugal who's searching for Atlantis. You also have Catalina Eranzo. She's a pirate and a former Spanish officer. She believes the Franco family is responsible for the death of her brother and fiance, so she's after revenge. Otto Baines is an English privateer sent by Henry the VIII Henry VIII, I know my history, to defeat the Spanish Armada. Urs van Born, on the other hand, is a cartographer and a teacher from the Netherlands. He's out to make a map of the world. Pietro Conti is a treasure hunter from Italy with a massive debt from his father. And then Ali Versas is an orphan from the Ottoman Empire, who, along with his friend, become merchants, and they're working to find a way to find Ali's sister. So once you get your ship, you have a little docking dialogue. You wander around this port, but once you get your ship and you hit the sea, that's it. You are free to basically do whatever you want. There may be a few tutorial missions with some of the characters. You're like, go here, do this. But for the most part, you're just free to do whatever. There are some restrictions, like obviously if you're an English privateer, you're going to be loyal to the crown. But I tend to play as Ali. He tends to be the most, his beginning's kind of boring, but he's the one with the most like freedom, I think. And then, so now you got your boat. And what are you going to do with it? Well, you can sail around and discover new towns and villages, gain fame as an explorer. You can work on establishing trade routes, becoming renowned as a shabby salesman, or you can become feared as a dreaded pirate. So let's talk about the different paths. Each port has a trading guild where you can buy and sell a variety of goods. Some ports have special goods that you can either sell at a better price or they have a bigger supply. The selling and buying price is affected by things such as demand, taxation, and location. For example, a town in England will buy supplies from the Ottomans at a higher price than a town in Italy. Sometimes. And then as time passes, prices rise and lower. Some places have a sudden influx of goods, and if you sell wool to the same town repeatedly, the price will go down because they'll have more than they need. So it has a supply and demand system that I'm sure is far less complex than the real deal. Each ship, and there's several ships, have a certain amount of cargo. You have to have food and water to travel along with the crew. And before you set sail, the game will tell you how many days you can sail. Oh, Captain, your first officer will be all like, oh, Captain, I think we can sail for 14 days. Or, oh, Captain, I don't think we can sail for very long. Once you run out of food and water, you'll start losing your crew. And then once you lose your crew, you die. Game in. That's it. You can edit the ship's cargo capacity so less crew uses less supplies because you can edit it so you have more cargo space, at which point you'll have less crew. Because you don't want more crew and less cargo space, because then that just doesn't seem to work for me. The only problem is less crew means you won't travel as fast. And of course, you also got to worry about, when you're traveling, you got to worry about the wind direction, making sure your ship's going with the wind. And then you also got to worry about the sea currents. Sometimes you can have the wind on your back, but if the sea's pushing against you, you ain't going anywhere. If you decide to go the trader route, you are going to need a pen and paper. It's probably one of the only games I've ever played with a pen and paper, and it's probably the safest and easiest of the three paths that you can choose. Now, my favorite is an explorer. As an explorer, your task is to discover the wonders of the world and fill in the blank spaces of the map. At the start of the game, most of Central Europe has been explored. Now, if you go down south to the northern coast of Africa, you can discover some towns. You can discover, I think, a new town. And then you can also travel down the Nile River. And there's some villages along that winding path. Now, when you lay anchor at a village, you have a couple of options. First, you can explore, but that rarely turns up anything. You first must become friends with the natives. To do this, you interact with them, which costs you some food and raises their friendliness by 5 points. As you raise their friendliness, it doesn't have to be at 100, but as you raise it, they will help you explore, increasing your chances to discover something. I've always liked to view it as like 5 people come with you, 20 people come with you. You can discover things such as exotic animals, ancient monuments, beautiful plants, and breathtaking natural wonders. You can also attack the village, stealing some food and incurring the wrath of the villagers. You will lose some men in the process, so I don't recommend it. In most major cities, your capitals, there is a cartography house, and inside you can sell your maps and discoveries for a nice chunk of gold. However, you can only swear loyalty to one cartography house. So if you are like me and forget which one you belong to, you won't get any gold for your time. You just get to wander around with all these discoveries in your pocket. Be all like, oh yeah, I discovered the Komodo dragon. Can't turn it in because I don't know who I'm allied with. Now, another advantage, or another use for the discoveries, is to share the stories with a waitress. As her relationship with you grows, you can use her as a spy to tell you relations between the empires, where a certain captain is located, and any rumors she might have heard. The reason why you want to locate a certain captain is because if you sink them in combat, then you can go recruit them if your skills are high enough. The relationship is important because if two empires are at war, it drives up buying and selling prices. If it's your country that has a terrible relationship with another one, say you are at war, say you're the Ottoman Empire and you're at war with Portugal, you will be barred from from exploring Portugal ports. So you can refill, but that's it. You can't visit the bank, you can't trade, you can't do any of that. But then as you explore a little and you gain experience as you explore and you get better and you get more skills, you can set out and discover the Far East or the Americas because the whole world is explorable. You hop in your little boat and you sail west into the wide open ocean and you die. You will run out of crew, rats will eat your food, you'll get scurvy, some kind of supernatural or natural disaster will destroy your ship. Exploring away from Europe requires a bit of prepping. As you explore, you discover small towns and cities for you to restock and resupply at. So, what I mean is that as you explore away from Europe, down along Africa, up northern Northern Europe, into the Scandinavian countries, Norwegian countries, you you will discover that's where you discover these small towns. Sometimes you discover towns that kind of have everything, but other times you just discover a town that's just a port. And now these neutral ports can be invested in and become loyal to your nation. I'm not sure what this all means. Like, I don't know if maybe you get better price or what, but it does prevent you from being blocked from your port, because it's a terrible thing to be sailing back from exploring, say, Russia, and you stop at a port to get food, and nope, sorry, can't. Okay, that's fine. You'll just go and restock, but you have no money. Sorry, you gotta restart. I've had to do that more than once. And then another cool concept is that as you explore an area, say you map out the African coast, you'll start seeing other ships traveling the African coast. So, like I said, I prefer exploring because it's the one with the most fun and excitement for me. But the one that I tend to be the at least early on is a pirate. It's a pirate or a privateer. You can engage in combat. You sail up to an opponent, and it has to be daylight. You sail up to an opponent, to another ship, and you challenge them. And now the computer always have a fleet is always like 8 ships or 10 ships or something like that. So they're always going to outnumber you. But the goal is, so you're on this square grid map, and you can move you can move in certain directions. You can move, and you can fire cannons. And if you get close enough to a ship, you can jump. You can have your crew attack. But your goal is to get to the lead ship. Once you get to the lead ship, you can challenge the captain. The crew will stop you, but their crew will stop you. But you can challenge the captain to a fight. And at which point you get this little sideways duel and a list of cards. Each card does 3 different things. I think it's thrust, slash, and swipe. I think are what the 3 are. And each one has a point on them. And you select it, and then you make the move. Now, the defender has 3 cards as well: parry, dodge, and block. And each one counters one of the attacking moves completely, half, and none. I can't really remember which one's which. I never really could. But as you fight back and forth in this weird little rock paper scissors game that was really popular back in that day, after you move this life bar over, once you get rid of the opponent, once you kill that captain. Once you beat that captain, that's it. You win. You get the whole fleet. Whole fleet's yours. Now, what can you do with the fleet? Well, one, you get access to all the cargo. So any trading that they were doing, any food, water, anything like that, you have access to now. You also get access to the boats themselves. Now, you can, at bars, you can hire people, like I've mentioned before. Vagabond sailors in the employ of the empires. And you get them and you can assign them to different positions, first mate, navigator, but you need one to become a captain. So you have your boat, and then you need another person to captain another boat. So if you have 3 people, your first mate, and someone else, then you can take 2 boats from this fleet. And what I do is I tend to take these fleets, find the nearest port, and sell them. And you get a whole bunch of money for it. And maybe I'll keep the main one. But yeah, and then that's it. That's pirating. And now as you engage in piracy, your fame goes up. So will your anger from the other nation. And then you can be hunted by warships of that other nation. And there's also other pirates that wander around that you can investigate them using this little spyglass. You can investigate them, and they'll tell you, "Oh, Captain, that looks like a ship from the Dutch, but it's actually a pirate." Generally means stay away from them. They'll hunt you down. They'll sit outside a port while you're inside and wait for you to come out so they can get you. Like, oh yeah. Now the game does use a time system. It does use an actual day-night cycle that doesn't really affect too much, except for as time goes on. Every month you pay your named crew, but as time goes on, your characters will age. I don't know if there's a limit. I doubt it. Probably once you hit 99, that's probably it. But yeah, so time will pass in that game. So that's kind of a cool feature. Um, so what's the point of getting fame? Well, there's a couple of points. So the first point, really the only point, is that as you gain fame, you will go next time you stop off at a port or you talk to someone, they'll be all like, they'll annoyingly, because everyone will say it, they'll be all like, oh hey, did you know the king of whoever or king of whatever is looking for you? You should go talk to him. Like every time. Say you're out in you're down in the Balkans and you're trading down there. You stop and talk to these people. Oh, hey, by the way, the king wants to talk to you. Okay, that's fine. I'll go. You're thinking, oh, I'll go trade, and then I'll set sail. So I stop at this port to do my trading. Oh, hey, by the way, did you know the king wants to talk to you? You talk to the port so you can buy food and water so you can leave. Oh, hey, did you know the king wants to talk to you? You sail on your way back. You stop to get some. Oh, hey, by the way, the king. It gets pretty annoying, but what it means is that you can then go talk to the king, and the king will assign you tasks based around your skill. So discover me something, trade something, deliver something, fight somebody, and then as you gain skills, he'll bestow upon you titles. More titles also means your taxes will be lower, and you can also start asking for favors. Once you become a privateer, for example, you are a pirate in the port of England or Spain or wherever. And so you can just cause mayhem as you want, as you see fit, and you don't have to worry about reprisal. Well, I mean, they'll still, like, if you're waging war with Portugal, they're still going to come get you. But at least this way, you're being sanctioned by the king. So it's pretty nice. I think also you can fly different flags, so you can instigate wars, but I could be wrong on that one. But yeah, as you explore, you can discover the Americas, the Far East. I usually, after exploring the northern part of Europe and Russia, I then make my break for the Far East. Because in China and Japan, they have unique, and I think India too, I think everywhere actually, has unique ships that you can buy. And they can be pretty good. And they also sell, unique trading goods too. But as you explore, you complete these character stories, or not, but you complete these character stories. The only one that I know that has like a definitive end is Franco, because he discovers Atlantis or disappears looking for Atlantis, something like that. I know he has a definitive ending. And also during this time, especially during like the uncivilized era of the internet, because I mean the internet's kind of aggressive, but I mean like that lawless Wild West frontier internet where rumors and myths were running around, and it's just the same as like schoolyard gossip. There was all kinds of rumors about this game, about stuff like characters descending stairways to heaven, and characters appearing with like it's all kind of weird. If you are interested in the game, I think you should go check out GameFAQs and Game FAQ and take a look at one of their guides that they have for secrets, and it's crazy. Interesting tidbit. Uncharted Waters 2 was my first game that I really like wanted to write for, like write guides for, cheats for, um, yeah, just write guides for. It was from there that I got involved in Game FAQ, and that was really like my first chat board that I really got heavily involved into. That's it. Like that's Uncharted Waters 2. Uncharted Waters 2 is one of the early open worlds. Now, people reviewers compared it to Sid Meier's Pirates, which I've never played, so I can't say that. But one review said that it was you can read. You have two choices. You can play this game, or you can read a book. You'll get enjoyment. You'll get the same amount of enjoyment, or same amount of boredom, or something like that. And I think that's funny because I love history, so I guess it makes sense why I would love this game. It is available. It's hard to get because it's available on the Super and the Genesis, and I think they made a PlayStation port. Um, but then the only recent time I've seen it is it's on the Wii U Virtual Console. So if you, like me, are one of the 100 people that still own the Wii U and still actively use it, or I did, you can get it that way. All right, everyone. So that was me talking about that's Uncharted Waters 2. That's about it. Like the game, describing the game doesn't sound like I don't know. It's hard to describe the I think Uncharted Waters 2 is a game that deserves recognition, especially now with gamers loving like really detailed pixel art, open world games. I think Uncharted Waters 2 deserves a second look. I've never played any of the other games. I've heard that they got kind of weird, kind of more story driven. So I still stand that Uncharted Waters 2 is one of the better games. But yeah, it's definitely one of my favorites, or at least was for a while. There's so much stuff that I didn't get to talk about. I didn't get to talk about shipbuilding, for example, which is you can build your own ships. You can get ships from like that's already at port. Actual real time passage with the ship. With the shipbuilding. So like they'll tell you, oh, it's gonna take me a year to build. Well, then it's gonna take a year to build, or like 3 months or something. So it's common for me to have paid to get a ship built and then completely forgetting about it. You can change your cannons so that certain cannons do more power, have more power, or have a better distance. You can change your figurehead, which determines how storms come. There's items you can get, weapons and armor you can equip. There is that RPG element that I mentioned where you get like skills and certain people have certain traits. Like I mean, it's a pretty in-depth game. I can understand how it can be a little boring. The controls are kind of a little wonky to adjust to because like one X controls one set of options, Y controls another set. But the game is a lot of fun, and I definitely think that if you are an open world fan or are a fan of like 16-bit graphics, or even just a history fan or someone who likes that era, I definitely think you should take a look at the game or maybe even watch a video of the game. This podcast has gone on longer than I originally intended, and interesting considering the fact that the one that was before this was my shortest one. Now this one has become my longest one. So, I thank y'all for joining me this episode of Dreamer Talk. I appreciate you for coming back after I missed that last week. And I hope you stay with me as I adjust and switch over to a bi-weekly series. And who knows, I may stay as a bi-weekly series. I may stay as a weekly series. I just gotta see how it goes. But for now, stay safe, take care, and thank you for listening.